Hello everyone, this is Professor Anil R. Chinchawade, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering, WIT Solapur. Today in this session, we are going to start with introduction to Java server pages. So the learning outcomes of this particular session are understanding Java server pages, that is JSP, and its working, and create simple web applications using JSP technology. So let us start with an introduction to Java server pages. So basically Java server pages is a technology for developing web pages that supports dynamic content. If at all we want to create any static content, we can use HTML, CSS like technologies, whereas if we want to create dynamic content, then we should go ahead with Java servlets or JSP. JSP helps developers insert code into HTML pages by making use of special JSP tags, which makes the programmers coding convenient. Using JSP, you can collect input from the users through web page forms, present records from the database or any other source, and create web pages dynamically. So let us see how exactly the web servers help us to run our JSP. So from client side, from any of the systems like Mac OS, Linux or Windows, client can make a request and this request will be reached to web server. Now the web servers will take care of executing our JSP files. The JSP files gets executed according to your business logic. The response gets generated and response will be sent back to client. Now how exactly these Java server pages get processed? So it is a 6-step procedure where in step 1, client 1 makes a request. So in web application, a browser sends an HTTP request to the web server. So client makes a request in step number 1. Upon getting this particular request, the web server recognizes that the HTTP request is for a JSP page and forwards that particular request to JSP engine. Now JSP engine will locate that particular file or JSP page which ends with .jsp instead of .html. The JSP engine loads the JSP page from the disk and convert it in servlet content. So this is step number 3, where generation of servlets get happen, and this particular thing is called translation phase, where .jsp file gets converted to .java file. Then the JSP engine compiles this servlet, which is a Java code, into an executable class and forwards the original request to a servlet engine. A part of the web server called the servlet engine loads the servlet class and executes it, and it generates a response. And in step number 6, the servlet produces an output in the HTML format and sends back to client. So this is how JSP processing is done. Behind the scene, JSP uses servlets. So let us take an example of servlet as well as JSP to understand the differences between them. And I will go to NetBeans. So this is my index file. So here we are going to demonstrate how exactly the servlets are written. So whenever we create a project using NetBeans, we go to File, Create New Project. Then we should choose Java Web option, and then we should choose Web Application and click Next. And then we should provide a valid project name here and then click Next. So I have done this procedure earlier and I have created a servlet demo project. This particular project will contain some of the important folders like web pages and source packages. Web pages will contain the home page of this particular web application, that is index.html. So this is from where the client will start interacting with your web application. So now whenever I run this particular HTML file, I will get a presentation view where I have created a form and a message called welcome to home page, and then there is a button called submit and it has a label called click me. So once I click on this particular thing, the action gets performed. Here we have written a form action as hello word servlet. So I have created hello word servlet. It is a class which is created under source packages. So let us open this. So this is a servlet code where we are supposed to create a class with a valid name. I have created a servlet with name hello world servlet, and obviously as it is a servlet it should extend http servlet class, and then we have two important methods over here, and those are do get and do post method. So as per our method that we have used to make a request, so I can make a request using two methods. One is get method or the post method. Accordingly, the request will reach to either do get method or do post method, which is implemented here. So I can override this particular thing. So instead I will use the default implementation. The default implementation in do get and do post is to call this process request method. So this is all a default implementation that I am using. So process request is a method which is taking two parameters. So both do get and do post also takes these two parameters, because it whatever data that is received from the client is with the request object and we are generating the response. So these two objects are to be used here. To generate any of the response for client, first we should set a content type. In servlet we should set a content type first. So we are setting a content type as text or HTML. Then we should create an object called out of print writer. So this is the syntax that is followed. Print writer out equals to response dot get writer. Using this particular out object I can write my Java code like out.println, and I should define my HTML tags inside this particular out.println method in this way. So this becomes very difficult for developers to maintain the opening tags and closing tags. So there can be some ambiguity and developer may do some mistakes, because large number of elements, large number of tags to be added into the web application, and this makes a chaos. So let us run this particular file. This is a HTML file that I am supposed to run first. When I run this particular file, I get a message called welcome to home page. As and when I click this particular button, it makes a request to servlet that I am mentioned in the action. So as I click, it reaches to hello word servlet, you can see in the URL, and accordingly the response is generated here. So this is a home page of my web application created through JSP. It is same as the earlier one. It also contains a form and action. So here instead of a servlet page we have given an action called hello world jsp.jsp. So here it is compulsory to mention an extension like .jsp, and method you can use either get or post, no issue. Now here also I have created a message called hello welcome to home page, and then I have a submit button. Now upon clicking this particular button, it targets to hello world JSP. It reaches to hello world JSP with a request, and here how easily and simply we have created a response. The response generated by this servlet you can compare and the response generated by JSP. So it is a simple HTML file where we can include our Java code as per our requirements. So in this example I have added a response like within an h1 tag I have provided a message to user as welcome to my JSP, and then I have added my Java code simply inside some JSP tags. So this is an expression tag used in JSP where I can add the simple Java code, and this Java code gets executed during response creation. So as we can compare here, it is very convenient to use JSPs instead of servlets, but behind the scene these JSP files are getting converted into servlet. So you can check that particular thing here. You can right click on this particular JSP and you can see view servlet. So because behind the scene your JSP file gets converted into servlet file. So every servlet file has a service method which is overridden by the programmer. So here in this case I have not overridden service method. You can override the service method which is responsible for implementing your business logic. In the same way, the hello world also has a service method. So see here, whatever hello world JSP that I have created, for that it has created a class with name hello world JSP underscore JSP. So underscore JSP is added to the name of this particular JSP and it extends some of the components which makes or convert this particular JSP into servlets. So similarly, this particular servlet has a content generation over here. So whatever response that we have generated through this particular HTML file, that is getting converted into servlet content in this fashion. So this particular code is same as this one. This is a JSP code and this is a servlet code automatically generated for us by the JSP and servlet engines. So this is how internally your JSP file gets converted and a response is getting generated. So here you can see the service method for JSP is underscore JSP service and this is used for generating the response automatically. So let us answer these questions. You can pause the video and answer this particular question. Question is, what JSP stands for? And the options are Java Server Service Programming, Java Server Programming, Java Service Pages and Java Server Pages. Pause the video and please answer. And the answer is Java Server Pages. Let's take the next question. The second question is, what is the correct signature of underscore JSP service method of HTTP JSP class? And the options are void underscore JSP service HTTP request HTTP response, void underscore JSP service HTTP request response throws servlet exception, IO exceptions. Third option is void underscore JSP service does not take any parameter. Fourth one is void underscore JSP service does not take any parameter, throws servlet exception, IO exception. Pause the video and kindly answer the question. And the answer is second option, because it takes the valid parameters like HTTP request and HTTP response, and also it throws servlet exceptions and IO exceptions. These are the references that are used for creating this video. Thank you so much.